Welcome to the Angler Talk Podcast with Chris and Aaron. Brought to you by FishingMagicianTV.com.
What is up, everybody? It is Chris and Aaron back again with another weekly episode of Angler Talk. How we going, bro?
Good, really good, man. I just made my first drone purchase, dude. Right? So I'm super excited about that, Chris. Like, I can't freaking wait. I bought. Let me rewind this. My lady bought my first drone for me about 4 or 5 years ago for Christmas, and it was nothing against her. It was a Walmart special. This thing lifted up. I was like in love, dude. I was like, all right, we got this. We're gonna capture amazing footage. It flew into the neighbor's house and was big back, right? So I couldn't get it to balance. Like, I mean, it was rough, dude. But the technology has come a long way, dude. So I'm really excited to show you guys this footage I'm going to capture with this thing. Like, you can set your destinations. You can have it follow you. Like, it's going to be a game changer nowadays.
Nice,
dude.
man. I'm going to tell you a secret that you don't even know. I've had a drone for 2 years.
Yeah, that breaks my heart.
I took it out the box once. I literally put it out in the backyard. I lifted the controls up, and it started slanting. I was like, I don't know how to fly this thing. And I put it down, put it in the box, and it's been there since. I have not touched it, dude. I mean, I'm afraid of smashing it into the building, or letting it fall in the water.
Yeah, you gotta hit a field, man, for the first trial run. I made a mistake. I was in New Jersey. I was in the backyard, big oak trees, like neighbors' houses. It was a mistake on my part, for sure, dude. But we're looking forward to the new technology, man.
Man, so this week we got a guest by the name of George Bucci, a South Jersey native, one of the founders of the Cape Atlantic Striper Club. And unfortunately, I had some things to do, so you took this conversation with him solo. And he's a dedicated surf guy, and I saw the conversation, and seems pretty awesome, and give people an insight of the way he fishes, the way he targets these fish in South Jersey. So I hope you guys enjoy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome George Bucci tonight. How you doing, George?
Good. How are you?
Good, buddy. Good. Unfortunately, I'm not in Jersey. I know a lot of guys hear me say that and they're laughing because I'm in Florida, and a lot of guys want to be in Florida, dude. But New Jersey holds a very special spot in my heart, especially when it comes to striped bass fishing, man.
It's my favorite thing to challenge. My favorite challenge to go after. Yeah. Striped bass.
So I saw a video on Facebook just recently. You were out doing some flounder fishing. Were you kind of multi-species in it, or was it just a flounder trip? How'd that go?
Well, this time of year, you kind of transition from our spring run, and I think just about every angler probably has a schedule that they follow on a yearly basis, where you have one species that drops into another species, and then you kind of just follow that pattern. And I guess in the last 5 years, I'm kind of in that pattern where it's like I do my spring run from March until the end of May, and then I transition. I do a little bit of fluking because I still enjoy that. And then maybe some week fishing, and then back into striper in the fall, maybe some tog. So right now I'm on a bit of a flounder kick now.
How was the week fishing, dude? I've been trying to follow reports the best I can out of New Jersey, and I noticed from the start of the spring run for striper up until now, the week fish, it seems, anyway, I haven't been there myself, but from reports, it seems like the week fish have been picking up, man.
Yeah, it looks, I really haven't had a chance to go out and target in some of my old haunts. It was something we used to do a lot of probably in the early 90s. There was a lot of weak fish around, but I kind of got away from that. They disappeared for a little while, and it seems like there's a pretty good rebound now of weak fish. So I'm looking forward to getting out and giving it a shot. From what I hear, I have some friends that go out, and they said it's been terrific, and there's been some big weak fish too on top of that. So it looks like the regulations that they put in place with the 1 week fish is starting to pay off, and you're seeing them expand. I'm seeing them expand up the East Coast, up north, all the way to Rhode Island and Connecticut, and Long Island Sound has significant numbers of them. So it looks like it's working out. I'd love to bounce back like the Delaware Bay days when they were, in the 80s when they had those giants.
My God, George, I can't tell you. All of my old kind of child memories were out of the Delaware Bay, on some kind of a lump, some number my uncle held sacred to him. And we were usually chunking or, flounder fishing, and the weak fish was almost like a bycatch, dude. Like, and I mean, when I tell you numbers, there was 50, 60 caught within a day, and that was like an everyday thing. They were almost like a bluefish. You knew you were going to catch them. They were always going to be there. And then, like you said, they kind of got depleted or fell off and just were almost not there at all anymore, man. I tell guys stories from down here. When I first moved down, I caught myself a speckled trout for the first time. Yeah. And mind you, I moved from New Jersey about 5 or 6 years ago, and right around that time, the weak fish was like starting its upward bound, and you get your spotty days, but it wasn't like it was. So when I caught my first speckled trout here, dude, it was like the unicorn from back home that I was hunting all them years, dude. I was so excited. But it's a good thing to hear that they're coming back like that, man, because they were always my favorite. They were always that unicorn,
Oh yeah, and they fight. They can fight, especially when you get in those upper sizes. You get like over 7-8 pounds. They'll fight pound for pound. I'd put them up against anybody.
For sure. I think I enjoyed the fact that they were almost similar to the striped bass. Like you knew certain haunts to be able to target them, and you knew certain techniques work better than others, and it just wasn't going out and flounder fishing and catching them predominantly as bycatch. Like there was an actual kind of strategy behind catching the weak fish. Yeah,
and it's a much more technical fishery. I think you have to go a little lighter. You have to they want the presentation to be pretty precise, and you have to have a touch for that weak fish bite. It's so light at times. It's just like a slight tick, and you better be ready for it. If you don't set the hook on that slight tick, you're not gonna get them.
I agree, and that's lost to many weak fish in my day, man. Where I was out again flounder fishing, and I'm like, nah, it was a flounder. I'll let them take it a little longer, and then my buddy next to me hooks into that 20-inch friggin' weekie, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, that was the one,
Yeah.
George, tell the listeners a little bit about your backstory, but if you don't mind, give us a little bit of insight on like how you got started and predominantly into the saltwater game, how you got started into the saltwater game, and what species you fell in love with, if there's a species, if you're not a multi angler species angler.
Yeah, I think like probably most locals, my father used to take me out. He used to row me out in an aluminum boat flounder fishing.
Okay.
We would go back behind Margate. We didn't have much money, so he would row me out, and he would actually row against the tide for a second drift, third drift, fourth drift.
Wow.
And even winter flounder fishing, which there isn't much of a winter flounder fishery in South Jersey anymore, but I remember winter fishing. He wasn't much of a striper guy. I guess probably like most teenagers, I kind of got away from fishing for a little while. And then after high school, I started going again, and I started hitting bridges. Started my night game. Kind of, you hit some bridges, some shadow lines. You start to learn how the tide, is working with the shadow line, and how the fish use the shadow line as structure.
Sure.
They ambush from those shadow lines, and you kind of that and the weak fish game on the rocks, and you just kind of evolve off of that, and so it kind of, back then it was, you could go out at night and you would run into maybe 5 or 6 guys. It was the same 5 or 6 guys, and everybody was very tight-lipped, and it wasn't until probably 2001, 2002 when you started seeing some of the internet pages come up, like the dedicated striped bass pages. The guys started to share information online. Right. And that really changed how, you could approach things. That's when I kind of expanded my horizons a little bit and started running up north, and started going down to Susquehanna Flats. Yeah. Go kayak to Susquehanna Flats in 2001. I remember that. It was a great fishery.
Yeah.
So you kind of just you evolve, and it became easier to do that with the internet. Then you got Facebook, and Facebook kind of just changed everything. It almost made it probably too easy, I would say.
Yeah.
To evolve. You see a lot of guys, they kind of evolve too quickly, and everybody does it for a different reason. Some guys do it because they want the glory. Some guys do it because they just want to go out with friends. Some guys just want to be weekend warriors. But everybody has their own reasons, and And you see too much today, people like maybe some animosity because just because I do it for one reason doesn't mean I have to do it for somebody else's reasons why they'd like to do it.
For sure.
I think everybody needs to learn that. Everybody needs to learn that, just because you want to hunt big fish and keep on hunting big fish, that's fine. But that may not be the reason why you or I go out there. Maybe I just go out there just to clear my head.
Right, for sure, George. And that kind of led into my next question, man, was going to be, how you felt about, I even feel weird saying it out loud because, everybody has their own feelings about it. It's almost like politics, but like spot burning. And if you felt the internet had, a big part in that, or, personally with me, I always so my grandfather kind of pushed me to figure out my own way, my grandfather and my uncle. So they pushed me to figure out the tides, figure out what marsh flats were too sticky to where you couldn't walk on, figure out where the bait's holding up in the middle of the night or the dead spots in the current, right? So like I always had to go out and you put the footwork in to figure this out for yourself, right? And you're right. So when social media came out, I was able to go on and see before I wasted the gas money if Montauk was on fire, if, Barnegat Bay was on fire, if anything was turning up before I went out there and put my footwork in. So do you think, social media led to a lot of spot burning, or do you think it actually, in its own way, helped guys get out there more?
Well, I mean, it's definitely changed the sport completely. It's hurt it in a way. It's helped in a way. And anybody that says they don't use it is probably lying to you, because I think it's definitely a tool that's in everybody's toolbox now. Everybody uses it. I use it. There's definitely something to be said for just going out and trying new areas and how rewarding that can be without seeing it just, but even Google Earth, you look at Google Earth, I'm sure you use it as well. I'll look at Google Earth just to find spots that I may be able to access where I could park. And that's made it easier.
Right.
So, you have the positives and negatives. I guess you have to be willing to take the negatives with the positives. So I certainly first started blowing up different areas that I used to fish, and I'd only see a couple of guys. Yeah. It was tough. It was very tough to spot, especially for guys that had been around for a while. You go to a spot that you saw 3 or 4 guys, and you walk out and you see 20 guys, and there's cameras flashing, and the first thing you want to do is get angry. Yeah. But you have to be able to adjust. I guess over the last few years, I've adjusted to that, and you go, hey, well, what am I going to do? If you can't beat them, join them. So you just kind of slide in line with the guys and hope that the guy next to you knows what he's doing.
Right. Yeah. And you know what, George? I guess that's also. I mean, it's played a big part into where I fish, and you know what? It's played a big part into me going back out there and putting that footwork in again, because just like you said, you could use it as a positive to look at some of these areas ahead of time. And in my eye, I think, or in my mind, I think, all right, well, that's going to be blown up. There's going to be tons of friggin' people there. So I revert back to what my uncle said. I revert back to what my grandfather used to say. Find the spots then, dude. Find the spots that are going to be on social media that somebody other than yourself is going to blow up. Go find that before they do it, if there is even any out there anymore. And that was going to be my next question. You think there's any of these undiscovered spots out there still, George?
Oh, absolutely. I still, every once in a while, I'll still, maybe I'll be on my work break and I'll look over an area and say, I'm going to go try this tonight. And there's just, it's the most unbelievable feeling when you go to this spot and you get geared up, and maybe you walk out in the marsh or you walk out onto a beach and you start getting into fish, and you have to, you look around, you're like, am I really, is this really by myself? I'm really by myself. And then you go tell a couple friends, and then 2 days later you got 10 guys there.
No, I know. And I feel so bad because every time someone brings that up, there was a good friend of mine back north, still a good friend. I don't know how he is, but he's, still my friend. Says, listen, I got this spot, can't bring anybody to it. So we go out there and we religiously hit this spot. And I'm telling you, it's an amazing spot for a certain window, a certain time of the month kind of deal, right? So I think to myself, you know what? I'm going to bring my dad. My dad, he doesn't know friggin' anybody, dude. Like, he's not going to tell anybody. No, sure as hell, my dad took a picture. That picture got uploaded to Facebook. That Facebook post got to some other guy, dude. And it was a snowball effect. And
Isn't it amazing?
Oh, my God, man. It brings, like, a gut-wrenching feeling every time somebody brings that up. I'm just like, damn, poor Tim. Poor Tim.
It's amazing. sometimes I'll catch a nice fish and I'll send a picture to my mom. And I sent her a picture of a big fish, and she sent me a message back. She said, "Oh, that's a great fish. Where did you catch it?"
Right.
And I said, "Why do you need to know where I caught that fish? You don't fish." And then she actually texted me back and said, "He won't tell me where." So in other words, she was going to tell somebody. And I caught her. Yeah,
Right.
I said,
the barter, the guy that drops butter off, or who knows? Yeah. No, that's horrible, man. You got the door guy at your mom's resort fishing your spot next weekend.
Yeah.
Goodness, George. So I did a little talking back and forth with you over the weeks now, and you told me you belong to a club in South Jersey. What club is that, if you can mention it?
That is right here. That's the Cape Atlantic Striper Club.
Okay.
I don't know if you see that.
Yeah.
Me and a handful of other guys founded that in, I believe it was 2017. I had been a member of a couple of other clubs. There wasn't really much like those clubs. They were North Jersey clubs. There was nothing in South Jersey. So we got together, we started that. There's been some ups and downs. There's been some growing pains. But I think that the club is probably in a better place right now than it's ever been. We ran a tournament this past spring, the Bill Couch Memorial Tournament, where we raised almost $6,000 for the Greater Atlantic Cancer Fund.
Wow, man.
Yeah, so that money that helps to pay bills for people that have cancer that they wouldn't normally be able to pay, like food, electric, things other than medical bills.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's huge, George, to be able to do something like that, not only with the club, but for the community around you, man. I grew up probably about 20 minutes north from where you're at, in a little town called Collins Lakes. But my mom always had a house in Summers Point, right behind the shop right there. And
I know where it is.
I'm telling you, we tried to, volunteer and donate. I mean, food trucks to anything that we possibly could in that area, because as well as I do, the area needs it, man. I mean,
yes,
it's not an inner city area, but you have the city super close to where you're at. So, I mean, that $6,000 went miles, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we're hoping. I mean, it was just our first year. We really didn't even pair with the Greater Atlantic Cancer Fund, but now that they saw what we were capable of, we're going to join forces, and hopefully next year it'll be bigger and better.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. What does the club have anything else going on for the rest of this year? Do you guys host, in club tournaments, out club tournaments?
Well, yeah, we do. We only have right now. We're only at about 25 members. We I guess after this tournament, we had a little bit of an influx of new members that wanted to come in, which is it's great. We're always looking for some new members, but we're doing a trip up the Cape Cod Canal in 2 weeks. We've probably got about half the club going. I rented some lodges right there at Bourne Scenic Park, so we'll have our own little compound. We'll do a week up there. We do a tog trip. We rent out a whole party boat, and we do a tog trip each year.
Yeah.
Do some trips. We do some cleanups. Maybe we'll pick one of the piers and we'll all meet there and clean the pier up.
Right.
But we try to stay busy. We try to stay active.
No, it's good, George. And I tell you what, the Cape Cod trip alone, dude, would have had me signing up. That was one trip that I could never find enough guys to go to be able to rent out my own little compound. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I've always stayed in a car at the parking lot, or I've always stayed like down one of them dead end roads where you're not supposed to even park a car, But I can never
Those
get
are some of the best trips,
guys.
Those trips are the best,
Yeah, I know they are. And they usually turned out really well, because it was either me and two other guys or just myself, But I've always wanted to get a group of guys together, like-minded individuals that were like, okay, let's rent a campsite. Let's put a friggin' some $200 RV on that sucker and leave it there all year round, and then we'll make weekend trips. You know what I mean? So that Cape Cod trip will be good, man. I'm looking forward to seeing the videos from that one.
Sure, yeah. And if you're going to be up there, you got pop in. I think we have. We have part of the club is going to stay on the Cape side. They rented a house, so we actually have 5 or 6 guys in a house, and then we have 4 lodges with some guys I know from North Jersey. So I think we have 22 or 23 guys total.
That should be.
Jersey's going to be taking over the canal. We're coming.
That should be a stellar trip, dude. The guys know. I forget the name of the bait shop. It's like Red. Red Top, right? Yep. So Red Top knows me as the Jersey Boys. So make sure you go in there and say the Jersey Boys are in town, dude. He'll get a crack out of that one.
Yeah, I was kind of partial to Cape Cod Charlie's. It looked like it was going to cave in. That was my favorite shop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I could never catch it. It was always like the weird hours when I needed that man to be open, dude. It was just never open. But I love that area, dude. A spot that, for the listeners that don't know, it's a spot where you can go up and you can catch lobster and striped bass in the same day and go to a campsite and cook this on the friggin' canal. I mean, it's just the most amazing fishery, on the East Coast. One of them for sure.
I just, and really, some guys go up there for the fish, and the fishing is great, but it's a place that you can go and you can spend time with friends, and you're not getting pounded by waves. It doesn't have to be pitch dark. You can go out there and relax and sit on a rock and have a conversation, or be next to a couple of your friends and leisurely fish and catch good fish. Right. So it's a relaxing trip for us. At least that's the way I take it. Some other guys maybe take it a little more serious, but I go up there to just kind of get away and enjoy myself. I still, I'll fish 18, 20 hours of the day for a week. You wear yourself out for a week, but it's really, I enjoy the hell out of that grind, doing that.
No, me too. It's kind of what I live for, man. I'm able to take these small trips. I do about an 8 or 9 day trip once a year, and I try to strategically plan it to where I'm either going to Cape Cod or I'm going to Montauk, or I'm doing 3 days in South Jersey, 3 days in Montauk, and then I fly home because I can't take any more after that, Yeah. But no, I mean, Florida's been treating me well, man. I have a little flats boat here. I'm pushing the flats. We're doing a little bit of inshore, slightly offshore fishing. Do you venture offshore at all, George, or is it mostly a land-based inshore kind of bite that you're always on, or do you venture?
No, I used to do some offshore fishing. I had I had a buddy with a boat that had the offshore capability. So something about offshore in Jersey, though, it takes its toll on you. I'm not as young as I used to be, and so that's kind of an all-day event for the most part. Leaving at midnight and getting back the next day. I probably could still do it. I think the last time I did it was 2 years ago. I went off for tuna, and we did it in a 23-foot center console.
Oh.
Yeah, and we got about a mile off the beach, and I turned around and I looked at Cape May, and I said, "What have I done?"
Yeah.
But we got some yellowfin, and when I got back, I said that probably was going to be my last offshore trip. I think offshore fishing's for two people. You either got to have a lot of money or you have to be young, and I'm neither.
No, I understand, and I slightly agree, dude. Because the only time I've ever been able to afford to go off has been in a 19 or 21 foot pro line, right? So I 100% get it. You run off, the water looks amazing, it turns up on you, and you're basically dirt bike riding the whole friggin' way out or in, right? And then half the time we got out there, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We're trying, and at the expense of $250 in fuel, and then all this extra, tackle that you bought 2 weeks prior just to be able to do this. I mean, then we finally got to a point to where we were being semi, successful with catching, stopping at the lobster pots for mahi. I mean, doing our thing. But then, George, just like you said, dude, it becomes an all-day affair, if not 2 days. Planning, prepping, getting out there, trying to catch and then coming back in and cleaning. But
it's quite a bit of work. Now, I've been fortunate enough to get, swordfish, bluefin, yellowfin, big eye, albacore. I've gotten to pretty much to dabble in everything.
Yeah.
But it's kind of not my thing. I did enjoy it when I was younger, but I think, unless it's a large boat and I can go inside and sit on a couch, I think I'm pretty much done with the offshore game.
And it might be there in the future for you, George. I got a buddy that he owns his own AC company, right? Fairly new to the AC game, to running his own company, but he invested in a very beautiful 50-foot, behemoth, dude, just a Viking yacht, and rebuilt from top to bottom, or bottom to top. And when I tell you, you could fall asleep on the ride out in this thing in air conditioning, he did everything right. So there might come a time in the near future where you get an invite. We'll go offshore in a little bit of class,
I never say never.
Good. So I did hear you mention in the early 2000s you were kayak fishing Susquehanna Flats. do you still have a kayak? Do you kayak fish in South Jersey? And are you planning any up and coming trips with the kayak, or is it just a home based thing that you do?
I just got a kayak again this year. I'd gotten away from it for a few years. I was going to get a boat. The price of boats got insane this year.
Astronomical.
So I decided I'm going to hold off. The price of gas went with the price of boats. So I said, I'm going to hold off. I'll get a pedal kayak. So I just recently got a pedal kayak. I've only been out in it twice. I went striper fishing one day in the bay and did great. And I went flounder fishing the other day, didn't do so great. I'm probably not in the best shape for kayak fishing right now. But yeah, I used to do it. There wasn't any pedal. I think it was right when Hobie first came out with pedal drives. Right. Which I think it was late 90s, early 2000s. And I went down, we would go to Perryville. I would stay at a campsite in Perryville and in Elks Neck, one of those two locations. And we would fish the Susquehanna Flats. And that was when the Susquehanna Flats were better. It was better fishing back then. I mean, and I haven't been back there in a few years. I think they close the season now in the month of April. I think April and May they close. April. So I haven't been back in a few years. It's been a lot better to run north, really. I go up to the Raritan. So basically, I spend my time up in the Raritan in March and April.
So did you wind up with a Hobie pedal or? No,
I did not. Okay. I went. I cheaped out and I went with a. I think it's called a Big Fish 130. It's got the pedal drive. It doesn't go forward and backward. It spins and has a propeller. So far, I love it. It's heavy. It's big. I named it the Bay Slug.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't go too fast, but it's stable. I can stand in it. It's very wide. I think it's 36 inches wide. So,
oh, wow, dude.
Yeah, I have no problem standing in it. I took it, I tested it, and stood up in it. And I was looking more for stability. I plan on using that more around the bridges. I want to try to get some sheep's head out of it, maybe some tog, and maybe some flounder fishing.
Yeah. Do you have it? Do you have it rigged already with electronics? And
yes.
Are you thinking of possibly putting power on it, dude? I know a lot of guys put, all sorts of different trolling motor modifications on their kayaks nowadays. Are you thinking about it? Or
I'm going to feel it out and see how I like it. I know it does. I think I can put a Bixby in it. But right now I'm just going to stick with the pedal drive. I have a few locations where I know where to launch it, where I can access a few different spots that I definitely want to do. Some of it is like, some river spots, and then the bridge spots are all pretty easy to access. Yeah. A little bit of pedaling, I should say, for some of them. But yeah, I'll see how that goes. The power kind of defeats the purpose of the kayak as far as I'm concerned. If I'm going to do that, I might as well just get a skiff.
Yes. Yeah.
Or flats boat. So, and that's definitely going to be in my future, probably next year or the year after, when the economy starts to correct itself. Hopefully, I'll get back into the boating game.
Yeah, I used to have a
21 console, and I had a 17 skiff. The 17 skiff was something that I regret getting rid of. That boat's been everywhere. It's been to hell and back with me. I had it out at the AC Ridge. I've had it in the Raritan Bay. It's been down in Susquehanna. It's been everywhere and back. Right. And so my greatest best memories were out of that skiff. I had no electronics in it either. I used to just run with a compass. So it was so fun.
Just go. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's what I have here. I have a 16-foot Action Craft. It's got a newer 75 Everroot on it. And when I tell you, I've had the 21-foot, Grady White. I've been able to run offshore in a bigger boat. I've been able to run the back of Brigantine in that same Grady White. When I started off, I was in a smaller boat, and even when I had that bigger one, I missed the convenience of being able to run shallow, not have to worry about a freaking thing, right?
Yeah.
So we got out of the Grady. I moved down here. I found this friggin' Action Craft. You're not going to believe me when I tell you, I paid $1,500 for this 2001 with a 2009 75 Everroot on this thing, right? Yeah, guy left it in a boat slip during a hurricane, and it punched about a basketball-sized hole in one of the side of the gunnel. So it did a little fiberglass work to it, dude. Trailer's beautiful. I mean, everything's ready to go, and I can't see myself ever letting a small boat go again because I was in the same boat as you were, regretting that small boat sail because, there's so many little spots where, like, even a kayak, I get winded. I mean, you get winded, you get tired, you don't feel like doing it anymore.
Yeah.
This little friggin' boat, I'm able to suck in and out of these little spots, man, and it's like you were never there. You're not even touching the ground,
Yep.
But yeah, I see a small boat in your future, man. I think that would be friggin' amazing to run the back of Brigantine and Summers Point.
That's probably one of my favorite, of all the fishing I've done, and you travel around and you do this type of fishing, that type of fishing. I think probably the most fun that I have is the light tackle backwater South Jersey, side bag. There's so many nooks and crannies. There's so many places you can go to get away from people and still find fish. And, and I have a million of them in my head from my days in the skiff and in the kayak. So I just can't wait to get back into that. I still share it with friends that have boats. We go to some of my spots, we go to some of their spots, but it is definitely my favorite way. Top water, light tackle, can't be beat in the backwaters of Jersey. I love it.
I agree, man. And that literally like makes my mouth salivate, dude, because when I think of coming home, that's what I miss, dude. I miss, like, we used to go up the Mullica River early spring all the way to, December and fish these bass that nobody knows is up there, used to not know is up there, and run a mix of like a white perch trip into a striper trip into sometimes bluefish, sometimes drum. Yeah. I mean, depending on what, where you're at in that river, but even the Great Egg Harbor too. I mean, there's just so many little nooks and crannies that you can go into. Dude.
Aaron, we got done fluking yesterday, and my buddy said, "It's your birthday. What do you want to do?" And I said, "You know what I want to do." And he said, "Okay." So we ran. He's got a 21 center console with twin power poles, trolling motor. So we ran up the Egg Harbor River and hit one of the spots that I enjoyed, and it was just lights out, every cast, top water, and there wasn't a person in sight in any direction.
I love it.
2 hours nonstop with poppers, and they were doing cartwheels out of the water. Not the biggest. I probably had one that was borderline keeper size. Not that I'm going to keep any this time of year, but they're still fun. I'm using a little Century Demon, and it's just a blast.
So I was going to ask you, George, seeing the Century across your chest there. So do we have a sponsorship with Century, or you just love their products, or how's
No, I'm on Advanced Fishing Pro staff. I'm on the Century team.
Yeah, fill the listeners in a little bit about that, man. When did you start with them guys? And if anything, what products that they offer that you're just in love with, dude?
Well, a little over a year ago, I got hooked up with Advanced Fishing USA, who's all Century rods. I work with them. They gave me, basically, I told them what I was going to need, and it's been a great partnership. I mean, they're the best rods I've ever used. I've used all kinds of rods. I've used Lamic glasses. I've used St. Croix. I've used ODMs, and there's nothing wrong with those rods. They're all great rods, but the Century rods are hands down the best rods I've ever owned. I have a full line. I use the Surf Machine Elite in the spring, which is my 11-foot rod with a 200 band stall on it, and I've gotten bass to 50 pounds on that. Maybe over 50. I don't even weigh them anymore. I just kind of take a picture and let them go.
Yeah.
So I have the arsenal, but the 9-foot Kevlar Nor'easter that I use on the jetties, and when I go up to Cape Cod, I use the 11-foot Nor'easter, which is a beast of a rod, and I can do everything up there with that rod.
It's not too stout to throw plugs.
I can jig with that rod. I can pencil pop with that rod. It's a do-it-all rod for me up there. But hands down, my favorite is their lighter tackle rods, the Century Demon, the Weapon Junior, the Weapon. I haven't gotten my hands on a mag taper yet, but I will. But that Demon, if you haven't fished a Century Demon,
I haven't. Want to.
Unbelievable. I mean, I can throw a 1/16 of an ounce with it. I mean, literally, I could throw it casts a 1/16 of an ounce. And yesterday, when we were flounder fishing, I hooked into a Count's Ray, and I was like, I'm going to be in trouble with this Century Demon, man. And I ended up getting it back to the boat.
Wow.
So yeah, it can handle. I've gotten fish to 38 inches on that rod, and it's such a joy to handle. It's so light, you don't know you have it in your hand.
What are you pairing up with the Demon Junior? Like, is it like a 3,000 class, 2,000 class?
Yeah, the Demon, I have a Shimano CI4 on it, CI4 Plus on that, 3,000 on the Weapon Junior. I'm running a 4,000 Shimano what do I have on that right now? A Ultegra on there. I think I don't remember. I got to look. I sometimes I'm mixing and matching reels.
Yeah, I can tell by the way that you speak about light tackle, dude, that I'm almost positive we're sharing like the same love for a light balanced rod reel combo, right? So,
yes.
So I can kind of like imagine what this rod and reel combo are like by the size of the reel that you're telling me is on the rod. So like I'm imagining this like perfect balanced, beautiful setup in front of me.
I probably ask that rod to do a little more than it should be asked to do. But I feel like that's probably something that I also need to do with that rod is see what its capabilities are. And, there's only been a handful of times that not even a handful, I think 2 times that I've had that rod in my hand where I had no business having that rod in my hand.
Right.
But other than that, it's been terrific. Yeah. But, matching a rod and reel, that having that light combo in your hand where you don't even know you're holding it, as compared to like in the spring when you're holding a Van Stahl with an 11-foot rod, and that takes its toll on your body after a while. Being able to make that transition back to the light tackle stuff right now is just, I'm like, oh, it's such a joy to get that light stuff in your hand.
Like a relief for you. So, I mean, one of my questions was going to be, what's your favorite tactics for, targeting these bass early spring, even midsummer? But I know you kind of wean off and go into that multi-species angler to where, you're targeting flounder, weak fish, the fish that are kind of coming in with the season. If you had one plug to grab and it was midsummer and I said to you, George, we're going out and we're going to try to catch the best striper bite that we could possibly catch, what plug would you be bringing on that trip?
When are we going? Are we going in the afternoon? Are we going in the morning? First light bite?
So we're going first light bite. And we got 3 hours to fish, dude.
I'm going to go with a topwater plug. I'm probably going to go with a spook style, something walk the dog style, depending on the conditions. If you get a little bit more chop, sometimes I may want to throw a popper on instead. Okay. But if I get glassier conditions, I love the walk the dog style stuff. I love like the little Yuzuri inshore pencils, stuff like that.
I was hoping you were going to say that, man. I got a couple guys out there in South Jersey that love the light bucktail bite, first light, dude. They swear by it with a little swim tail or paddle tail on it. I'm talking super light bucktail, but just something to get underneath the surface. And is even if I'm murdering them on top water, right? I'm just continuously, with a fish on, they won't switch off of these friggin' paddle tails and these small jigs, dude. But it is what it is. It's just, it's one thing and, it's another. So, I get it.
For me, it's that visual. I think it's the visual part of it where when I see that explosion, you see how aggressive they hit on the surface and you're doing something right. Oh, yeah. I had one yesterday that it actually, my plug was going across the surface of the water and the bass came up over it and landed on the other side. Like never touched it, never came close of it. Like a porpoise went right over it. And I turned. I said, "Did you see that?" He goes, "What?" He goes, wasn't even close to hitting that." I loved it.
I call that he didn't even taste the hook. He didn't even taste it. Yeah. So we get these snook down here in South Florida that if they taste it, they want no parts of it. So they know it's fake. They know it didn't hurt them. But if they miss it, man, it's the most exciting thing in the world because now they want it. So now it's a cat and dog thing or cat and mouse thing to where you're just enticing them the right way just to bite the friggin' thing. I love topwater. It's one of my favorites. Guys that have trouble with topwater, I think the whole visual part of it is, you're looking at it, and as soon as you see that the topwater, you see the fish break the water, guys are pulling right away. They want to try to set a hook, and that is probably the number one mistake that people make is, I had to teach a buddy to pencil pop. We would go up to Cape Cod and he would pencil pop, and as soon as he saw the fish break on the pencil popper, he's jerking and he couldn't set the hook. And I said, "Could you please stop trying to set the hook until you feel some weight? Right. As soon as you feel a little bit of weight, as soon as you feel that they grabbed it, then set the hook." I go, "You wouldn't normally set a hook until you feel a hit. So why are you pulling? Because you're seeing it." I go, "Because you're seeing it before you're feeling it. So you're pulling it away from him." And once he got the hang of that, he was good to go. No, it's cool. But that's one of the things I suffered from early in topwater, man. I brought a lot of things with me to Florida that I used in New Jersey, right? Topwater was not one of them. I thought for some weird friggin' reason these fish would not want topwater. I didn't watch any videos. I'm super stubborn, and like I said earlier, I hold what my uncle had said to me years ago to my heart. So I'm like, I have to go out and figure it the hell out for myself. I'm not going to get on social media and watch these dudes every move and try to figure out how they're getting these bites, because I want to experience that, like, I figured it out feeling. You know what I mean? So I go out here and I'm fishing for almost a year and a half. No friggin' top water. I know it's crazy to think about. No top water. I get one of my buddies that I meet down here on my boat. First thing he does is he throws on a Spook Junior. I mean, within the first 3 casts, this guy's got close to a 30-inch trout on. I'm done. I was like, I don't know why I left that back in South Jersey. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell am I thinking, dude? I go out the next day. I literally, I swear to you, George, I bought every freaking spook on that rack, every color size. And that's my go-to now. For at least the first hour of sunlight, I have to throw top water. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's great.
George, this has been good, man. This has been great. And I would love to have you at least give a shout-out of your social media platforms, your handles, where the viewers and the watchers can find you.
On, Facebook, George Bucci. Instagram, thing, George Bucci. You go to Advanced Fishing USA. You can check out some of the rods. We do rod demos. We usually do about 3 or 4 rod demos in New Jersey a year. Sometimes we do them in other states. You can check out the Cape Atlantic Striper Club. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and you can see some of the good things that we're doing.
Awesome, George. Awesome. And I appreciate having you on, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Thanks, George. Anytime, buddy.
That was great to hear from George, man. A lot of tips, a lot of insight to how he fishes from the surf. And, he brings up a lot of good points in the way that he approaches his fishing day.
No, for sure, dude. And the guy's a legend, Chris. The guy's, one of them old timers that you would hope would take you under his wing, when you saw him out there fishing. And, he is that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that wanted to spread his wealth of knowledge throughout the younger generation and anybody willing to learn. So, he founded the Cape Atlantic Striper Club and, gives that opportunity for you to come in the door, and be a part of a group where you have knowledgeable individuals like this that are willing to share everything that he's gained over the years, man. I mean, there's no price you could really put on that, dude.
Especially what caught my attention the absolute most is when he started bringing up the gear that he uses. When he said century rods, this is when I knew that this man was hardcore. I mean, because not everybody knows and not everybody can afford a century rod. But when it comes to rods on the market, that is probably tier 1 badass rod that you can use for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, it's there, dude. And to be sponsored by them, I mean, that says volumes, dude. I mean, and what I love is the fact that he brought up towards the end of the podcast there that, he's got a lot of things planned in the near future for the club, not only for himself. And they're taking a Cape Cod trip, and they're renting out cottages, dude. And they got the club all involved in this trip that, when I was in New Jersey, it was so hard to get a group of guys that were all like-minded together, that were all willing to throw in to go up to these trips. You know what I'm saying? You might get 2 or 3, you become lifelong buddies, great. But it was so difficult to get 10 guys to make a $50 purchase on a friggin' cabin. Everybody got shit to do. So, and another thing, Chris, is the charities that he works with and is raising money for. I mean, come the hell on. I mean, he made me, just like Leon, our other good friend that runs another club, he made me want to jump through the screen and become a member of that club overnight, dude, just because of that alone, I
know we are running out of time, but there is one thing that I want to bring up that I've been noticing. You got some nice new threads on. I mean, you got the hat, you got the jersey. I mean, I think with a nice outfit like that, there would be a gift in there for somebody. Captain Eric Snyder.
So it's not just a gift for me either. It's a gift for all the listeners, all the viewers. It's called Angler Talk 10, guys. Angler Talk 10 will give you a percentage off of extreme bait tanks. So if you guys have not checked out the bait tanks yet, amazing friggin' bait tank. The quality is unlike anything else. I mean, the work this man puts in these things to make them custom. It's, you ever hear of Build-A-Bear? They got it in the mall, right?
Yeah.
Right? So he designed his website. It's called Build a Tank, right? So you're able to go onto the website and really custom order what you want in that tank to make it your own tank. So Angler Talk 10, guys, don't miss out.
Absolutely, man. And before we wrap it up, I just want to vouch for that because Damon did send me a pump. I believe it's a 110. I don't have a full tank, but honestly, I don't need it. Just this pump alone. I mean, I told you a couple weeks ago, I went out striper fishing. I wanted the luxury to have a couple of live bunkers. So I went out and I got a half a dozen of live bunker, and I put them in a cooler 2 days before my fishing trip because I had to work. And let me tell you something. This pump kept these fish alive for those 2 days without a problem. If anybody knows anything about bunker, aka menhaden, depending on where you are at in the country, these fish will suck the oxygen out of anything. I mean, if you notice Raritan Bay every single year, you will see along the beaches thousands, and I literally mean thousands of dead bunker because they suck all the oxygen out of the bay. Right. But in a 56 quart cooler with an extreme bait tanks pump, I had absolutely no problem keeping them alive for sure.
Says volumes, guys. So you can only imagine what you could keep alive in one of the tanks, dude. Like, I mean, we're talking double pumps, dude, pump socks. I mean, guys, the technology is out of this world. If you guys are curious before purchasing, head on over to my YouTube channel or you could head over to Fisherman and Magician TV channel and check out the bait tank there, guys. Because I'm telling you right now, I mean, seeing this thing is one thing, but holding this thing in your hands is a whole nother level, dude. So I hope you guys, appreciate the gift. I hope you guys use the gift and take advantage of it because it's there, man. And, what the hell? Something free. You might as well take it.
Exactly, man. And what's wrong with saving money? That's always a great thing, especially in today's economy. You know what I'm saying?
And Angler Talk 10, guys.
All right, guys. So for this week, we have to wrap it up. He's Aaron, I'm Chris, and we're out. Tight lines.
See you guys.
I challenge thee.